Our next writer, his name is Gint Aras, and he writes he's been trapped on planet Earth since 1973. Interesting phrase. To support his writing, he's worked as a cook, hotel houseman, actor, teacher, transcriber, editor, interpreter, translator, and hearse driver. He's currently a community college instructor and lives with his family in Oak Park. Gint, please.
Uh-oh. The magic one fell down. There it is. I think I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. That's yours, right? All right, good. My name's Gint. I'm the author of The Fugue, and as the Master of Ceremonies said tonight, I am selling it over there at this table for $15. I'm going to read a scene that's about 7 minutes long from the middle of the book. It's dated spring 1962. Now, what happens in this book is that the reader knows right in the beginning that there was a house fire in which people perished, and that the son of this husband and wife, who is a sculptor in the neighborhood, gets punished and sent to prison for murdering them in this house fire. So the people that you're going to hear about today, the reader knows at the beginning of the book, have perished in that fire, and these are that boy's parents. They are World War II refugees. Most of the characters in the book are World War II refugees. It takes place in Cicero right after the war. The gentleman Benny that we'll meet later on in the scene is a folk artist who sculpts things out of wood. All right. So this is chapter 8, spring 1962, The Fugue. On the last weekend in April, Bronza Dilienko was able to move into his new house. He had no furniture and slept on wool blankets folded together and covered with cotton sheets. The house had no fuses, and for the first few days, Bronza lit his way with an oil lamp he had found in the basement among old trunks, rusty tools, and dusty bottles. He felt there was something romantic about no electricity, visualizing himself as a great landowner from an old book, and didn't rush to replace the fuses. He often had the feeling that someone was in the house with him. The feeling must have been a natural response to living in a new house. Bronza did not believe in ghosts, but the awareness persisted, especially at night. On some days, he went through all the house's 7 rooms, the closets, basement, and attic, in search of something he hoped to hell he wouldn't find. After a week in the house, the feeling went away. He had almost forgotten it when he saw the glowing ember of someone smoking a cigarette in his yard. It didn't frighten him. He stood at the back window and watched the glow form tracer arcs. Bronza could hear the subtle creak of the swing. Whoever it was came often, usually between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., but left little trace, not even cigarette butts. Bronza checked for the visitor each night, standing in the dark and narrow back room. Sometimes Bronza felt the presence even later at night. One time he was sure the visitor had come and felt disappointed to find the yard empty. Dilienko finally decided to wait outside for the visitor. He only wanted to see who it was. The visitor came down the gangway while Bronza sat in a corner where he was well hidden but still able to see. It was a girl. There were plenty of things to trip over: a bird bath, a bizarre grotto, a few thin stumps, but she knew the backyard well. When she lit her cigarette lighter, Bronza saw Gaia's face for the first time, her smooth skin and large eyes. She could not have been older than 20, probably younger. Her beauty was so striking, so inexplicable, that he thought he must have deeply wanted her to be beautiful, simply because she was a strange girl in his yard. When it was dark again, Bronza sat stone stiff, only 10 yards away, and controlled his breathing, pinching his nose when he wanted to cough. She soon lit another smoke, and he stared at her eagerly, hoping he might memorize her face in that brief moment of firelight. When she stood to leave, he followed her. His back hurt from sitting on the lawn, and his ass was wet and cold. Bronza was careful and kept his distance. He only needed to know where she lived. After walking just down the block, she went into a small brick house with a large front window and sturdy concrete stairs. Bronza smoked one cigarette in the street and then went up to the porch where a folding chair leaned against a little table. A book of matches lay in an empty ashtray. On a sanded and lacquered piece of wood hanging below the mailbox, he found the names Benny and Gaia Laputis. He recognized the surname as Lithuanian, knew the J was pronounced like a Y. Without giving it another thought, Bronza rang the doorbell. Benny's head appeared in the diamond-shaped window in the door. Hello? Hi. Bronza waved gently. Hi. Is Gaia home? Benny's wet and exhausted eyes widened. They scrutinized Bronza. Benny seemed as fascinated by him as he was skeptical, perhaps annoyed by the late visit. The door opened, and Bronza saw Benny was in his shorts. He said, Come, his voice dry. Bronza entered the small front room, oddly cold, reeking from years of cigarette smoke. Benny turned on a table lamp and pointed to the sofa. Sit. You need beer? Sure. As Benny busied himself in the kitchen, Bronza took a good look at the artwork on the walls. The demon, an octagon-shaped sun, the idiotic dwarf next to the reading chair, and the 15 or 20 figurines scattered all over the coffee table and floor, some of them fallen to the sides. A pillowcase next to him had been filled with more figures, but Benny returned before Bronza had a chance to look at them. Thanks. Bronza took the beer. Glad to meet. Benny sat in his chair. You are welcome here. Glad to meet you too. Where's Gaia? He waved his hand. Maybe bath. Maybe sleep. Bronza realized Benny was very drunk, and he did not look well. His skin was pale, and he spoke with an unnatural lethargy. Movement seemed to cause him discomfort. Bronza was also struck by his bright amber, almost feminine eyes. They could have been the eyes of a calculating madman staring intently into Bronza with a paranoid desire to know everything about him. Or they could have been the eyes of a fool who'd point at a shoe and say, shoe. Dilienko did not feel welcome, but now had no idea how to leave. Maybe, said Benny, Gaia is in the kitchen. Yeah, you just came from the kitchen. Tell me your name. Dilienko, Bronza. Here you are welcome, Dilienko, Bronza. Dilienko, Bronza, you know, she is lying me about you. What'd she say? She's saying she does not, he pressed aside, strain in his face. She says you not exist. Bronza was quiet. Why? Asked Benny. Why is she embarrassed about you? You know what she's like. Yes. Benny drank the beer. He burped silently into a fist. Know what she's saying now to me? What? I'm invisible. Benny leaned back into his chair, rocking his head to glare at the ceiling. I asked Gaia, Gaia, you are coming. Gaia, you are eating. And she say, no, I'm invisible, like this. She speaks also to you like this? No, wait. In few years, if you are together, yes, because she like my sister, right here in head, many complexes. Bronza's head bobbed around. But she beautiful, Benny said. Bronza nodded. And you Catholic? Me? Bronza looked Benny over. No. Good. Benny drank the bottle down in a few gulps and stood from the chair, stumbling slightly when he stepped over to the sofa. He picked up the pillowcase and dug around. I thinking have one for you. He soon found a figurine and handed it over. It was a crucifix. The figure of Christ had been sculpted separate from the cross, and Benny had nailed it down with fine nails. The cross was more like a T, two rough and interlocking posts. Bronza was struck by the graphic detail of the bones and strained joints, and how heavily the body, especially the head, hung. This is God, said Benny, God the Son. God the Father did this to his Son. But you know what Church's teachings? Bronza lied. I don't. Church's teachings very simple. God the Father, God the Son, they are same. You know, like 1 + 1 = 1. Smarter mathematics. They say it is mystery, but I tell you what it means. I tell this guy many times because what it means? It means suicide. God killed himself. Benny took the pillowcase into the kitchen. He brought Bronza another beer. She will come soon, he said, disappearing a third time. Just wait. Bronza heard the back door of the house open and close gently. Thanks for coming out.